Imagine you're driving a Ferrari at 150 miles per hour and suddenly, these are the football players who almost lost their lives. And for Cristiano Ronaldo, just 3 days after buying his dream car, an accident changed his life forever. On January 8th, 2009, it was an unusual morning for Ronaldo because his coach was calling for an early training session after Manchester suffered a heavy loss in the last match. So, Ronaldo's teammates were counting on him to be there, but Ronaldo overslept, and when he finally woke up, he saw all the missed notifications. He immediately jumped out of bed, but he only had 20 minutes to cross the city, and there was one car in his garage that could do the job, but he didn't know that getting into that car would be the biggest mistake of his life. His Ferrari was completely destroyed. It was a miracle that he walked away from that accident without a scratch on his body. It made him make his important decision to focus only on the sport he loved and realize his dream of becoming the best footballer on the planet. If you respect Ronaldo for overcoming this tragedy and turning it into motivation, please hit the like button. Now, for Lionel Messi, trying to do this thing almost cost him his life. Back in 2017, Messi was about to play in one of the biggest games of his career. It was between Barcelona and Juventus in the Champions League, and Juventus had already won the first leg 3-0. So Messi knew that if he didn't give his best performance in that game, his team would lose any chance of winning the title. So as soon as Messi entered the field, he was ready for anything. And throughout the first half, both teams put in a lot of effort. Their records were at stake, and whoever won the match would qualify for the semi-finals. So they battled it out with blood, sweat, and tears, but neither team was able to score a single point. Then, as the half was coming to the end, Messi made one last high-effort attempt, but it almost cost him everything. As you see, Messi almost lost more than just the game. Doctors say that if he had landed just 2 millimeters higher, that neck injury would have killed him. So despite Barcelona losing that match, Messi was a very lucky man. But this next player had zero contact with anyone, and his accident was so scary, it changed the rules of the game completely. In the opening match of Euro 2020, Christian Eriksen and his Denmark team played against Finland. Eriksen is Denmark's star man, so all eyes and hopes were on him in that match. But in the 41st minute of the match, Eriksen started running in a strange way, and some fans noticed that. And as he came closer to them, he couldn't take it anymore, fell to the ground, and died. Tears were everywhere. Eriksen's wife couldn't believe it. She and the rest of the world were watching, praying, and hoping Eriksen would give them a sign, but he didn't move. They tried CPR, mouth to mouth, but nothing. And as they rushed him to the hospital, the fans couldn't stop crying. All hope was lost until Christian came back to life. Thanks to the help of the defibrillator, Eriksen got charged back to life, and when asked about what he remembered, he even admitted that he died. "I remember everything except those few minutes when I was in heaven." What a miracle! Eriksen came back, and because of this injury, FIFA made sure that every stadium has emergency defibrillators on site. However, most disasters happen off the field, like what happened to Matteo Silva. This man almost lost his life on vacation. Back in 2017, it was the 4th of July, the Independence Day of the United States, and Silva and his teammates were so excited. They wanted to go to Lake Tahoe and enjoy the beach life. And because it was the 4th of July, they already knew the beach would be crowded, and they had a game later that day, so they planned to go early around 6 a.m. The boys got in the same car, played some music at full volume, and went on their little road trip. But as soon as they arrived at the beach, Silva was too excited and lost control. He saw the sand, the water, and couldn't resist, and without thinking, he ran straight toward the lake and jumped into it. It was a beautiful day. The sun was reflecting off the lake, but suddenly it happened. Silva started screaming for help, and his friends thought he was joking until he went under. Then their hearts dropped and they rushed to the lake. They jumped in after him, but by the time they got to Silva, it was too late. He wasn't breathing and had no pulse, so they had to swim to shore and think fast. Luckily, a lifeguard rushed to save him, and he tried giving him CPR, but it didn't work, so they had no other choice. 2 days later, Silva woke up, but he was dazed and confused, and it turned out he was in a coma when he jumped into that lake. He was so excited and he didn't realize that the water was extremely cold. So as soon as he got in, his body went into shock, causing his heart to stop. He was lucky that his friends were there because they literally saved his life. And after it became clear that Silva would recover, his teammate Chris Wondolowski showed his respect for him in the next game by wearing his number 38 and even scoring a goal that night for him. And what happened to Neymar in 1992 scarred him for life. At the time, Neymar was only 4 months old, and him, his dad, and his mom were driving to visit some relatives. But things turned deadly. The family who lives in Brazil was driving up the mountains, and suddenly a severe storm hit. And it wasn't just a normal rain that came and goes. It was so strong they couldn't even see what was in front of them. Then came the lights. The family was in an accident, and everyone was injured without exception. Neymar's dad remembers everything. He said, "A car came towards me. I tried to swerve, but it hit us so hard. I told to my wife, I'm dying, but my worst fear was the next thought that came to my mind. Where is Junior?" As you see, the car was hit so hard and Neymar literally disappeared, and the family had no idea where he went. His dad looked everywhere, inside the car, outside the car, in the bushes, on the street. They couldn't find him, and they didn't know what to do until they heard crying. It was Neymar, and he was trapped. His dad looked under the driver's seat, and he found him covered in blood. Neymar suffered a head injury because of a piece of glass from the car, so the family had no other choice. They immediately rushed to the hospital. Neymar came face to face with death, and he wasn't even old enough to understand the words or know what was going on. So when Neymar's dad found out that he was going to be okay, all he could do was thank God. And from that point, he knew that Neymar was in some way blessed. But Neymar's incident was nothing compared to Angel Di Maria's situation. Some people not only wanted to hurt him, but also his family. At the beginning of 2021, Angel and his PSG teammates were all smiling. Their team started the season with an impressive performance, and when PSG come into a highly anticipated match, they wanted to prove themselves. They were leading 1-0. But then, something strange happened that no one expected. In the 62nd minute, all phones started ringing, and suddenly, Angel was substituted and taken off the field in the middle of the match. What was going on? Well, his family was in danger. Some criminals had been keeping an eye on Di Maria for a long time. They knew he wouldn't be home because of the match, so they thought it was the right time to enter while his wife and 2 daughters were at home. The thieves ransacked the entire house, taking everything of value, including Angel's $600,000 jewelry collection, and escaped like a bank robbery. And the crazy thing is that this wasn't the only time Angel's house was robbed, so he had no other choice and immediately hired a security team to protect his life and his family.